Mace need to go on a diet. He need to get his life together. He need to go to the doctor and get a physical. He looked terrible, bad body, back ass. He look big around the neck, waist look crazy. I'm body shaming this. You heard? He need to go get his together, get on the treadmill, do some push-ups, do something. You heard? Especially for playing with me.
You are a guardian angel and designer. Did you get what the is you talking about, man? You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro? You are not from Harlem. I did not grow up with you, man. Do you remember how we met? Pause. So not met, how you got cool with us? Basically, you heard our freestyles. And you came up to me one day when I was chilling in front of the house. You said, yo, man, I heard the freestyles. Y'all killing shit. More freestyles come out. Y'all heard the new shit.
I was the CEO of Diplomats. I made Diplomats with him. I was with him for every bit of his journey. I held him down. I took that position of holding him down.
You was a fan. You begged us. You are a fan. A fan. So you can sit around and act like you've been around all this Harlem shit and everything. You ever see somebody from Harlem try to act like they from Harlem so bad that you got to keep saying, I'm from Harlem? From Harlem know who's from Harlem. You don't have to keep saying you from Harlem.
What if everything you thought you knew about Jim Jones was flipped upside down? What if the man claiming he created Mase and Camron's path was actually just a fan who talked his way into the room?
Yeah, listen, man. Listen. You were fanned out and you begged to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in. Mase actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap.
Imagine finding out the truth. Might be he owes it all to them back when Dipset had the whole game in a chokehold and diplomatic immunity felt untouchable. What if the foundation of that movement was built on someone else's grind? What if the one shouting loudest about being the boss was just in the right place at the right time? Now, with the truth finally spilling out, Jim's fight to hold on to the spotlight is looking more and more like desperation. How long can you ride a wave before the real ones behind it decide it's time to pull the plug?
Say it. We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization. How you made Diplomat. Yeah, you ain't make none of this stuff. You was a fan. That's how you got down originally. Period. I heard the new shit you did. Yo, you want to come through? Come through. Why? Why are we going to Jomo's house? So yeah, I would bring some over there sometime. A little crack maybe.
They know what I've done. And dance around it all they want and shit like that, joking, but they know if I get upset, it's going to be a real problem.
Get out of here.
Hip-hop has always stood on one rule. Respect is earned, not handed out. You can't just claim a block you didn't come from. You can't flip your backstory like a mixtape when it suits you. And you definitely can't take credit for someone else's work without facing some serious backlash. But Jim's been walking that line for 2 whole decades. And now the real builders of that legacy are stepping out ready to set the record straight. The wildest part, Jim Jones recently said he was the CEO of the Diplomats, that he held it down for Mase and Camron. But that's not just stretching the truth. That's rewriting the whole book. In a place like Harlem, saying you built something when you didn't even lay a brick, that's bold. And folks aren't letting that slide. And the way he says it like it's all facts. Unbelievable. That's what happens when someone repeats the same story for so long. They actually start to believe it themselves. But the thing about building your legacy on someone else's shine, eventually the real ones show up to collect what's theirs. I never needed us. You were a fan.
He never put hands on you or you get to altercation, you cool with him. You tried to chase French Montana out the game, that ain't work out. Y'all got cool. So cool that you go to his video shoot, pardon me, not his video shoot, his movie. You're sitting in the crowd watching the premiere and they dissing you in the movie. You in the movie getting dissing, you gotta eat it, just sitting in the crowd. Nah, they dissing you in the movie that you went to go see, bro.
Boom, instant freeze. Camron didn't just check Jim. He dismantled his whole story with just a few words. You were our fan. For words that crushed 2 decades of claims. This isn't about drama or bruised pride. It's about the clear line between those who build from scratch and those who just latch on. Real creators versus opportunists. And Cam made it crystal clear which side Jim falls on. And it's not the one he's been bragging about. Then Cam really broke it down. Why Jim's been reaching so hard. When you haven't built something solid, you start chasing validation like it's oxygen. It's not loyalty. It's fear. Fear of being seen for what it really is. All image, no foundation. Jim's public image. It's been riding on borrowed credit for years. But once those cracks start showing, the only move left is to go harder with the stories and hope nobody pulls the curtain back. But now it's too late. He taught you how to rap. Just like that, everything shifts. Jim didn't discover Cam or Mase. He wasn't the architect. He wasn't a co-founder. He saw the movement building, the mixtapes buzzing, and found a way in not as a leader, but as someone trying to catch the wave. It's a tough truth, but it's finally coming to light. This changes everything. Suddenly, Jim's whole career, every track, every feature, every win looks like it started with one major move, convincing two rising stars to let him ride their momentum. A fan who found his way in and never looked back.
When you ran in the hotel, they chased you to the beach. Yeah, they chased you to the beach. You was in the sand. You was getting wet from the water, from the ocean. I don't pump that. I don't pump all that because I ain't trying to make the great Shakira. You know why? Because the revolution was televised. That's why I'm here. That's why God worked like that. That's why me and Murder is here. The revolution was televised. Because you talking about
This shit ain't no game. They can't play with me too much. I give them the floor to do that because that serves me no purpose. I got too much to worry about, too much to do.
But here's where it really stings, especially for folks who understand how respect works in the streets. Begging to get put on, that's a serious blow to your image. Real ones don't beg, they build. Real leaders don't cling, they create. And now Jim's just been revealed as neither. It's not even about whether Jim played a role in Dipset's rise. The real question is how long can you keep stacking success on top of someone else's work before the real creators decide to tear it down? Respect is everything, and Jim's stock just dropped to zero. When the very people who gave you a seat at the table start pulling your chair away, there's no smooth way out of that. And what makes this even tougher for Jim, he's been spinning the same story for so long that now his own words are starting to contradict each other. Yep, the receipts are out there. What separates the real ones from the pretenders? One word: consistency.
stop tricking out their freedom, bro. This is gonna be the last time I address this. Whatever you got to say after this, good luck. I wish you luck. I got other shit to do. This is not on my motherfucking place. Believe what you want to believe, because I got other things to do. You feel me, Murder? I ain't want to snap one of them nose, but yeah, I'm good.
Here goes some popcorn stats.
Thanks. What was your reaction when Cameron brought up all these old stories and everything about you?
I laugh, man. I got this thing, man. People laugh at the lies, but the truth always hurt. You know, lies are more entertaining. You heard? You get to laugh, you get the joke, but the truth is a serious thing, no matter how you look at it.
The truth doesn't change with the audience, but fake stories do. And when the timeline doesn't add up, it all falls apart. Jim's been rewriting his origin story for 2 decades, but the internet keeps track. And when your past self ends up exposing your present self, that's not just awkward, that's career ending. Cam's not just talking, he's about to show proof. When someone says they got receipts, believe it. They're about to press play, not just talk loud. And what Cam's about to reveal could wipe out whatever credibility Jim had left. Listen to how calm and confident Cam sounds. That's because he knows the truth is on deck. When you got someone admitting it themselves on camera, you don't have to argue. You just let the footage speak. The same guy who's been running around claiming he was the CEO, the backbone, the one who held the crew together, just admitted on tape that Mase was the one who taught him how to rap, not the other way around. That's not just a contradiction, and that's a full-on confession. Jim didn't make Mase. Mase made Jim. Simple as that. And now Jim's own words are confirming everything Cam and Mase have been saying all along. When someone doesn't even need to come for you because you gave them all the ammo.
Told me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. He was like, boy, once you figure out how to rap, the same way you act in these streets, it's gonna work for you. Just keep going. And that's all so I always gotta give credit where credit is due and shit like that. It would be no Jim Jones.
You know, the internet gets kind of crazy with the lies. The lies be going crazy on the
I
internet.
mean, well,
man.
the lies start from a narrative, and a narrative starts from a person, and you just got to look at it like that. But I've never been one in my life to care about clearing up no rumors. Like, that just take time out of my day for making money. I know who I am. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I stand 10 toes down on everything I believe in. I don't change my pivot, and everybody knows that. I mean, as you can see, I would not be here if I did anything else but be me.
That's next level. Jim's not just twisting the Dipset story. He's even been flipping basic facts about their friendship, like claiming Cam was staying at his place and needed help when the truth is way different. This is what happens when folks try to rewrite history to put themselves at the center of everything. The boss, the leader, the one in charge. But when you're dealing with people who actually lived through it, those made-up stories turn into receipts that can be used against you. And now those stories are coming back loud and clear. What makes this even wilder? Jim can't really fight back because it's his own voice doing the damage. How do you argue with a recorded confession where you say the exact opposite of what you've been claiming for years? You can't say you built someone when you already admitted they taught you everything. But here's where it gets even deeper. While Jim's been out here tripping over his own words, the people who actually watched Dipset rise have been paying close attention. And they're about to drop some real behind-the-scenes facts that flip the whole story. Because when the noise fades and the cap gets exposed, the truth always comes from the ones who were really there. Like when Joel Santana said everything was cool at first, that's him setting the record straight before things went sideways. And the way he says it, calm director, no extra hype, just facts. That's how you know it's real. People who lived it don't need to talk big. They just say what happened and let the truth carry the weight. Now, here's where things get a little complicated. Choke, no joke, confirmed that, yeah, folks did work under Jim. He had some real authority back then. So, this isn't a story of a total fake. It's about someone who had some power but couldn't stay in their lane. Jim wasn't just tagging along, but he wasn't the CEO either. He wasn't the founder. He was more like middle management, trying to edit the script and cast himself as the boss. And now that rewrite is falling apart fast. Here's the line that's going to light up the comment section. Choke, no joke, just said there's no Dipset without Jim, and that he was a muscle behind it all.
That Jim album release party, and everybody was over there with Jim, and Cam is standing over here with like 3 or 4 people just looking on and couldn't believe that Jim is the guy. There's no Dipset without Jim. Jim is the gangbanger of the crew. Cam is not a blood. I don't even know if Jewels was. I doubt Freaky was, right? But the set, it comes from the gang, right? All the gang all ran under Jim.
Right.
All of the muscle.
Cam and Jim history go back before me. You understand what I'm saying? When I met Cam and Jim, they were super close. So I honestly don't really know Jim being from the Bronx and all that. You know what I'm saying? When I met them, they was in 5H, which is, you know what I'm saying, Jim's apartment, and that's, you know, like, I guess that time was after all the stuff Cam had said already with the Children of the Corn and Jim, you know, whatever he said, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, when I got there.
But before Jim's crew starts cheering, let's break down what that really means. Being the muscle doesn't make you the mastermind. Playing a big part doesn't mean you were the one with the vision. Jim had a key role, no doubt, but it was more about backing the team, not leading creatively. There's a big difference between being important and being in charge. What we're seeing now is 2 sides forming, both close to the truth in different ways. Santana and Choke aren't blindly defending Jim. They're standing up for the parts of his story they did see with their own eyes. Real contributions that maybe Cam and Mase are brushing off. But this whole back and forth, it's a mind game. Cam and Mase are turning down Jim's role to highlight how far he stretched the truth. Meanwhile, Jim's supporters are pumping up his value to shut down the just a fan talk. Both sides are pushing pieces of the truth to prove their point. And as always, the real answer is somewhere in the middle. But in the world of street status, how things look often matters more than how they actually went down. And right now, Jim's losing that image battle fast. The craziest part, in street politics, loyalty is strong. when everyone's on the same level. But the second someone starts shining more than the others, that's when true colors come out. And what's coming next? It's about to show who really had envy in their heart all along. Choke, no joke, just flipped the whole story now, saying it was Cam who couldn't handle Jim's success. But before you take that at face value, there's some context you need to know. Choke's had personal issues with Cam for years. This isn't just commentary. It's coming from a place of old tension. At one point, things almost got physical between them just because Choke gave props to one of Jim's mixtapes. That kind of energy, it tells you a lot about where his bias really comes from. So, when you hear Choke defending Jim, it's not just loyalty, it's also payback. He's using this moment to push a narrative that fits his own history with Cam. Now, he's painting Jim as a protector, the muscle who kept Cam safe. But peep the timing. Jim just dropped a new project at the church steps in February 2025. And suddenly the Dipset drama is back in the headlines. Sound a little too perfect to be random, right? When you're trying to get attention on a new album, nothing stirs a pot like digging up old beef and Choke. He's the ideal voice to back that up, especially when he's got his own score to settle. When personal history mixes with public drama, it's hard to tell what's truth and what's just strategy. Even Freaky Zeke, who's been trying to keep the peace, admits this drama didn't start off that deep. But once outside voices started jumping in and stirring the pot, things took a wild turn. And who benefits the most from dragging up old tension? The one whose current spotlight relies on that drama staying alive. When someone's out of moves and can't back their story with real facts, they usually go low, throwing out threats, talking wild, and aiming personal shots. And now Jim's about to show just how far someone might go when the old tricks stop working. Camron didn't just clap back. He broke down Jim's whole street image piece by piece. This isn't just personal anymore. Cam is calling out a pattern. Behavior that shows who Jim really is when the cameras aren't rolling.
Wedge that came between Cam and Jim is Jim's success. Cam always looked at him as being the star, Jim being Capo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's kind of like Sammy the Bull becoming John Gotti. You know what I'm saying? Gotti's probably gonna feel a little way if Sammy becomes the main man. You know what I'm saying? And in that situation, that's what it is. Jim.
But now people got these platforms where they asking people, so it's like a thin line. So then you got Jim, like it's just like people say you can't respond, even though Jim wasn't attacked, his name was mentioned. You understand what I'm saying? So now it opens the door for Jim to say something back. That's what happens. You know what I'm saying? With these podcasts and shit like that. So it opens the door, and Jim chose to,
According to Cam, Jim doesn't move with respect, loyalty, or standards. It's all about staying in the spotlight, no matter what it costs. And that's a serious blow, because it knocks down the whole image Jim's been pushing. The tough guy, the protector, the one holding it down. All that gone with one story. And Cam claims he's got witnesses ready to back it up. What's even more telling, Cam doesn't sound mad anymore. He sounds unbothered. And in this game, when someone stops seeing you as competition and starts seeing you as just noise, that's the real slap. Cam's basically saying, you're not even on my radar anymore. And honestly, that kind of indifference hits harder than any diss track ever could. And when the tough talk runs dry, here come the cheap shots. Jim really told Mase he needs to go on a diet. Yep, that's the level we've reached. When a grown man runs out of real points, he falls back on middle school style jabs. It's not strong. It's not street. It's just sad. The fact that Jim thinks coming from Mase's looks helps his case, that says everything about where he's at right now. This isn't tough guy energy. It's not about respect or codes. It's plain old desperation. And here's the twist. Jim keeps saying Cam is doing this for clout, that he's the one chasing views. But let's look at the scoreboard. Who's been hopping on? Every interview? XXL, Cam Capone, any outlet that'll listen. That's right. Jim himself, the guy accusing everyone else of chasing attention, is literally on a media run. Now, here's where it gets even more obvious. When one interviewer finally presses Jim to go deeper on the issues with Mase and Cam, he freezes. after all the talking, the back and forth, the big energy, suddenly he's got nothing to say. That's what happens when your whole story is smoke and mirrors. When people ask real questions, the illusion cracks. Jim can go off when he's controlling the vibe, but the second someone else starts asking for receipts, silence. And now we're watching the unraveling. This is what it looks like when someone's been living in a made-up version of the past for so long. Reality feels like the enemy. Then Cam delivers the real blow, saying this isn't just about personal beef. It's about Jim's history of pulling others down. According to Cam, every artist that links with Jim ends up worse off. That's not leadership. That's draining energy from people around you. And what comes next might be the most damaging truth yet. Cam just dropped the final piece, revealing that Jim's been on this negative press mission against him and Mase for over 10 years. This isn't some fresh back and forth. This is long-term. Obsession from someone stuck in the past. Because the past is the only place where he still matters. The irony, it's unreal. Jim says he doesn't care about gossip. He claims he's focused on making money. But he's been on every platform lately. Double XXL, Cam Capone, and more talking about the same old drama. If he's really chasing the bag, why spend so much energy rehashing beef? This story isn't just about three Harlem legends clashing over old memories. It's bigger. It's about authenticity in hip-hop, the difference between the ones who build and the ones who cling, between real creators and people who attach themselves to success they didn't earn. Jim's journey turned into a warning sign, a lesson in what happens when your whole identity is built on borrowed shine. Cam and Mase didn't just win an argument. They pulled the curtain back. They let the receipt speak. His own words, his own interviews, his own contradictions, all pointing to one thing, a carefully crafted image that's finally falling apart. And now, after 2 decades of bluffing, the truth is out. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe.